I want to start by telling you we're going to start and talk about some very ugly stuff. And then we're going to start getting a little gray, and then we're going to start getting a little bluer or grayer or better or whatever. Because I think this is important as I've traveled the world and I've looked at things all over the world at zoos and aquariums and conservation sites and dove in the oceans and things like that. I've seen so much good and so much bad. And it's going to take people like us to figure out what we're going to do. I'm going to show you a lot of examples. Hopefully I'll get the data correct. But it's important. So we'll go ahead and start, and I'm not going to talk in the very beginning. Well, let's talk about this a little bit. I want to put this in perspective. The last slide you saw before this one talked about 84 years. If you have a child today, and that child is lucky enough to live 84 years old, 50% of the species on this earth will be gone. 50% will be gone in only 84 years. That's less than a lifetime. Do we care? I do. You know, extinction is a natural process. The current pace of the extinction is not. The reality of what's happening is it's 100 to 1,000 times faster. It's hard to judge that rate based upon the geographic location, the species involved, and the habitat they live in. A lot of island species, especially, I'll give you examples of, because they're isolated and what happens to them. But here's what we've lost. The old dodo bird. Now, the dodo bird was found on an island called Mauritius, and it was found way back in 1598. The Dutch sailors found this bird, and 64 years later, they're gone. They're gone. Here's a skeleton of a Steller sea cow. This is sort of the forerunner of the modern manatee. These animals got to be somewhere to 8 to 9 meters long, 8 to 10 tons in weight. The giant, the Steller, I guess the navigator, Steller, whatever his first name was, I don't know. He named the Steller sea cow after himself. That was very humble. And he found these animals in 1741 up in the Arctic area in shallow waters, 1741. It only took 27 years for them to be wiped out. 27 years. The great auk. The great auk's an interesting bird. It's a North American bird, similar to our southern residents of penguins and things. These were flightless birds, meaning they're helpless birds. And why are these animals lost? Just think about it. There's too many people. There's just way too many people on Earth. We are the only life form on Earth today that can make a difference for animals. The animals cannot change their environment. They cannot change their life. We have to find a way to either help them or harm them. And we've done a pretty bad job of harming them, believe me. The great auk, again, back to that, it was found in 1844. It was found in about the 1800s. It took about 44 years to wipe every bird out. And this is because people wanted feathers in their pillows. Obviously, somebody cared about a nice sleep. The sea mink, this was fascinating to me. I didn't realize a cousin of the sea otter that's on the west coast of North America, there was one on the east coast. Did you all know that? I didn't. By the end of the 19th century, it's gone. It's gone. Passenger pigeon. This story just blows me away every time I hear it. Think about it. There was 300 to 500 billion passenger pigeons in North America. Billion. They're gone. We ate them. It's amazing. The passenger pigeons in the 1900s to 1914, they just were wiped out. The last one in this picture died at the Cincinnati Zoo in 1914. Now there's going to be a thread here and a theme, and I hope you don't forget it. Zoos and aquariums, dolphinariums, nature parks, preserves are so very important for the future non-extinction of animals. And I'll tell you why later on as we go. But think about this as we talk. It's because of the knowledge that is learned and the expertise that is exhibited can make a difference in saving some of these species. If all of the zoos and aquariums and all the other parks I talked about go away, who in the hell is going to have the knowledge to save these animals? It's not going to be the extremists out there. They don't care. So keep that in mind as we go. The next example, the Tasmanian tiger. It would be neat if this was a color picture, but it's not. But these are carnivorous marsupials. Fascinating animal. They lived in Australia, New Guinea. They ended up migrating to Tasmania, the only place left, another island. And yet, in 1936, the last one was shot. It's sad. Caribbean monk seal. This is a picture from the New York Aquarium back in the 50s. Caribbean monk seals are all gone. Hawaiian monk seals not too far behind. Do we care? I'm not sure. Sometimes I wonder. I know you do. But sometimes I'm wondering about this world. You know, as you look around the world and you listen to the news reports today, especially that disaster yesterday in Vegas, I mean, the human-human bond sucks. The human-animal bond is stronger. But wouldn't it be nice if the human bond got stronger and the human-human bond got stronger? Wouldn't that be nice? The next particular animal, Javan tiger, again on an island. 1976, last one, bingo, gone. The West African black rhino. You know, the whole idea of poaching just blows me away. I just don't understand why people shoot these animals and take their horns. Because they have misinformation about what the horns do for them in a medicinal sense. Just poor misinformation, cultural misinformation. But nobody seems to want to find the truth. The truth is missing in this day and age, and that bothers me. The Javan tiger, 1976, gone. As I said, the West African rhino declined in the 30s. 2011, it was declared extinct. I'm going to tell you, the Vaiji River dolphin has a special place in my heart. I convinced SeaWorld for years to we spent probably $150,000, $200,000 putting on workshops in China, bringing in scientists to save this species. It didn't work. We could not convince the government to do anything. We couldn't convince the fishermen to change their fishing methods. There's too much pollution in the Yangtze River. These animals are now extinct. Sad. Now, let's talk about what we're losing. This is kind of an interesting little photo of a Red River giant soft-shelled turtle. Now, when I first got my job in 1972, I had a dog and a cat at home named Puff and Heather. You know, real tricky names. And they were really my mother's pets, not mine. I really wasn't an animal person at all. I used to go surfing. I love the ocean. But I was doing some construction work at Greenland of the Pacific one day in 1972, and somebody asked me would I like to work there. And I said, sure, love to. I love animals. No idea what I would do 44 years later. No idea. There's only 3 of these turtles left, and they're in a zoo in China. 3 left. We have no idea their reproductive strategy. We have no idea where they live. We have no idea how to reintroduce them. The Hainan gibbon, I saw these animals in Hainan Island. It's another island story, the western part of Hainan, about 15 years ago. Beautiful animals, extraordinary animals. These guys are killed not only for their food, but they're killed to use their radius and their ulna and their forearm. They carve them into chopsticks, and the chopsticks supposedly can sense poison in the food. Now, how crazy is that? Crazy idea. These guys are now protected, but there's only 20 to 25 animals left. That's it. Beautiful, beautiful animal. The Amsterdam albatross, again, an island bird. Now, this is an interesting story simply because in 1993, there were only 5 pair left. Somebody came across them on this island in the Indian Ocean and got rid of the feral animals, the invasive species, and things like that. And now these animals, there's 25 pair left. So every species has a chance, if you get the right people in the right place at the right time, to change the course of this extinction rate. Totoaba. Everybody knows what the totoaba is, don't you? Well, this fish is indiscriminately fished for its bladder. So it can be sent to China and used as a medicinal purposes. I can't even say the word. This is shame. You can see stacks of them on the beaches sometimes. They just take the bladder out and ship it and kill the fish. Now, of course, this is integral to the vaquita. This particular fish has declined 95%. And again, how do you count fish populations accurately? It's very difficult for the biologists out there in the field to figure this out. But we have to. Some of you can do that also. Now, the vaquita has been talked about before. I think this is the coolest idea in the world. We should have intervened on this animal 15 years ago. But we weren't going to be allowed to. We talked about this for years. It's now going to happen. I hope it works. Maybe too late, but I hope it works. Intervention, to me, is the key for the future. And management, whether it's in a zoo, an aquarium, or in parts of the ocean, someone's going to have to take care and manage an area or an animal. I once told an animal rights person a couple months ago, I bet you, I told them where I was coming to this meeting. I said, I think there's people in this meeting today that could train the southern resident killer whales to eat a different food source and survive. She looked at me and goes, oh, we wouldn't let that happen. I go, what do you mean you wouldn't let that happen? You'd rather see them go extinct? Sure. But I do feel some of you in this room could actually do that. You don't have to put them in captivity or in managed care. In essence, they need to be in managed care. But I bet you could train them to eat an alternative fish source. In fact, I know you can. This next particular animal, I don't know why I like bats, but I went to Bracken Cave one time near San Antonio, and they're supposed to be scary animals, but they're not. They're cool animals. They eat insects. The Seychelles sheath-tailed bat, there's only 100 left in 2 caves. I happened to be fortunate enough to go to the Seychelles Islands a couple years ago, and I walked up to one of these bat caves, and you sort of sit out on the outside and you wait for them to come out at dusk and then come back, and it's pretty fascinating. And but one of the things I found while I happened to be on that island, I went scuba diving, and I was horrified by the total wiped out of all the coral reefs practically. You'd see a good strip for a while, and then you'd swim on and you'd see just coral bleaching. It's in the middle of the Indian Ocean, my God. It's scary, downright scary. We go to the Javan rhino. There's 100 left, less than 100, again on an island of Java. Look at the big game hunter there. I think we need to rethink. Sustainability is important. I'm not against hunting, fishing, but it has to be done in a sustainable manner. You've got to know the biology of the animal. You got to figure out where they live and how much. That doesn't happen. Pondicherry sharks, these are interesting sharks. They were hugely distributed around the continent of India. They're gone now. The last Pondicherry shark reported was caught in 1979, the last one. I'll talk about sharks in a minute because it blows me away about some of the issues. The Boehmer's fruit bat, what a cool looking animal. This animal was declared twice extinct. First time they went extinct, some villagers in Papua New Guinea found another cave of them. They ate them. So it went extinct another time. They found them, there's about 140 left. They found another cave. Now they're being protected. So protection and doing something smart makes a difference. The Sumatran rhino, isn't that a cute little devil? Look at that thing. What's cute about this, and especially rewarding and thinking about it, this was born in Sumatra. The father was born at the Cincinnati Zoo. Went to the San Diego Zoo, then was shipped down to Sumatra, bred a wild female, and this is the results. This can be done. We have the knowledge to do these things, be it the genetics we move or the animals we move. We're smart enough to figure this out. We really are. It's important that we continue to invest our time and energy into these projects. Now, I'm not telling you to go out there and save the Sumatran rhinos. One of you may be able to be involved, I don't know. But all animals are precious. You know, I've heard this argument that, killer whales and dolphins are super big brain, super big special, super intelligent, super duper. All animals are super. I don't care if you're an insect. Something super about everything that's on this earth. So the Sumatran rhinos, there's less than 200 of them left. I put this one in because I love fish eagles. Madagascar fish eagle, another island story. There's only 120 pairs left. The pygmy three-toed sloth, what a neat little animal. There's about 500 left on 2 little islands in Panama. That's cool. But somebody's got to take care of them, and there's great people down there doing that. This is Julie Scardina's favorite animal. I don't know why. The Malayan pangolin. She just loves pangolins. Now the pangolin is being decimated at an alarming rate because of their scales, their meat, and again, it's for medicinal purposes. Give me a break. That can't cure you. But that's the rate of what's happening. There's less, we think, we don't even know how many are left. So we're losing these species slowly but surely. The southern bluefin tuna, it started declining by 85%. It's declined by 85% in the last 35 years. Of course, you all like your ahi, don't you? I do. But boy, there's got to be a better way to sustain these beautiful fish. So I think, one of the things I would recommend as you talk to young children and their fascination of dolphins and fascination of the sea lions or fascination of any creature that you're taking care of, encourage them to be conservationists, encourage them to be biologists, encourage them to have a bond with animals, even if it's their pets. It's so important. That human-animal bond is important for the future. It really is. Black abalone. Who cares about black abalones? Well, they used to be pretty tasty. They used to be. In 1973, they harvested, how many? 1 million pounds of black abalone. In 1993, they finally put a moratorium on it. So there's no more harvest. Interesting story. But again, what we're talking about here is outside the boundaries of the traditional zoo, in a way. This is us in this room and your friends managing the lives of animals in a correct manner, giving them the opportunity to exist longer than this rapid rate of extinction. Is climate causing it? Sure. Is habitat destruction causing it? Sure. Invasive species? Yes. But gosh, the previous extinctions were caused by other events, geological events. This is caused by us. This is a really neat animal. Franklin's bumblebees. I love pollinators. I love butterflies. I love bees. You know, when you ask children, what are pollinators? They look at you like, well, what are you talking about? A pollinator. It sounds like a sex deal. What are you talking about? But you know, pollinators are important. 70% of our food comes from pollination. The last 4 years, this bumblebee has been censused in Northern California and Southern Oregon. They have seen 0. We're losing the pollinators too. The very web of life at different stratas are leaving us. And we can't have that happen. This is a disturbing picture. Common sawfish. Look at this. Somebody had a great fishing day, didn't they? We don't even know how many are left. They're protected in most parts of the world. IUCN, there's CITES 1, which is great. Hopefully it's not too late. But again, we need to find biologists, and then we need to find money. We need to find ways to save these animals in certain habitats where, quite frankly, you're influencing other sort of recovery plans. I once told the former Fish and Wildlife Director, who now has another job, that his recovery plan sucked. And that's the word I used. I said, when you think about the Hawaiian monk seal recovery plan and the West Manatee recovery program, they're extinction plans. They're not even aggressive management plans. And I'm thinking to myself, why can't we get this straight? Now, I don't have the answers, believe me. I really don't have all the answers. But I tell you, you know, some of the thinking is just stinking thinking. That's the best way I can put it. Angel shark used to be populated all over North Atlantic. All over. It's now around the Canary Islands. And Laurel Parque, a great zoo, is now investing money and time in biologists to try and find out how they might do more. So, again, it's why. Why? What's causing these things? Again, it's misinformation, too many people, and we don't want to work together. I think Billy said it earlier this morning. He asked me what that I think was going on with the zoo and aquarium and dolphinarium community around the world, and I just said I think we're circling the wagons like the Old West, but instead of protecting from the inside out, we're shooting each other. We don't respect each other. If I don't have dolphins, I can hide in the sand for a while. Nobody's bugging me. It's not my problem. It's your problem. But I tell you what, killer whales, dolphins, elephants, primates, carnivores, it's all a sliding slope. 2048, how long is that from now? Less than 30 years. There are certain biologists, fisheries biologists, that are predicting the oceans will be empty. 30 years. Holy shit. That's scary. I don't know if it's true or not. I talked to a friend of mine at World Wildlife Fund a couple weeks ago. They do a lot of work with sharks and shark issues. And I said, listen, I've seen this figure bounced around and around and around that 100 million sharks are killed a year through bycatch or finning. And I said, is that true? And they say, well, that's our estimate based upon all the different data we can gather. And I thought to myself, wow, 100 million? I can't envision 100 million sharks. I can't even imagine 100 of them laying on the ground here. I went to the South African rugby's a different issue. I played rugby in South Africa, but the South African Shark Board. And I saw about, 100 sharks that had been caught. They set up horizontal net lines around the beaches in South Africa and stagger openings. Most of these sharks were caught on the way out in the nets. They didn't get caught on the way in. They got caught they made it in towards the beach, but they ended up getting caught on the way out. But you know, here was a week's catch of like 100 sharks sitting there that they were necropsying. But 100 million sharks. Now think about this. If they're 5 feet long, that would go around the equator 6 times. I think. My math is good. 6 times. But that means next year, another 100 million are going to be killed. This is not sustainable. This is not the future of what we want. So things are turning. Here's where I get a little bit more positive. Staghorn corals are making a comeback because we're protecting them. They had declined at a tremendous rate. We're growing corals now in managed care and replanting them in the ocean. Isn't that cool? It can be done. There are intelligent people out there like you who know how to do these things. We just have to direct the energy. California condor. Now the California condor, at one time there was 27 birds. 27. There's now over 400. And now it's beginning more and more difficult to count them all. But the only reason this bird is alive today is because of zoos and aquariums and fish and wildlife people that work together. Fish and game people out of California. It's the only reason. You had to take them into zoos, you had to breed them, and you had to get numbers out there. It is a numbers game, depending upon the species, that's for sure. The black-footed ferret, the Arabian oryx, all of these animals are thriving in the wild today because of competent, modern zoos and aquariums that have good people working for them. We have to find a way to raise up lousy zoos and aquariums, or find a way to take their animals away. There's no more reason to let the bad apples in the barrel exist. There really is no good reason, because we're painted with the same brush. We have to improve everything we do to get better and better and better, and that's what's happened the last 44 years, especially with this organization. It's phenomenal. Some of the stuff I saw in '72, I'd never see today, never. Look at this picture. Atlantic giant, Atlantic Goliath groupers. These guys must have had a heyday that day, huh? Look at that. Beautiful big fish. Somebody could count it for me, I guess. All in one day, bang, 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 bang. There's now a moratorium on doing this, thank goodness. So hopefully these long-lived fish have an opportunity to do this, to come back, make a comeback. It's really important. The West Indian manatee is making a comeback, slowly but surely. There used to be only 1,300 of them. Now there's supposedly 6,300 of them. Of course, that depends upon weather, habitat destruction, boat traffic, and everything else. You know, the Endangered Species Plan, the Manatee Recovery Program will not allow these animals to be bred in captivity. How stupid is that? They won't allow it. It's crazy, absolutely crazy. In fact, if you happen to bring a walrus, orphaned walrus into your collection, Fish and Wildlife may ask you not to breed it because it's not permitted. It's a memorandum of understanding. That's baloney. That's not the way we're going to have a sustainable future. You can tell I should have gone into politics. I would have done well. The panda. What a neat success story. Iconic, cute, good looking, black and white. Wow, cool. That's the only reason it's survived. That's the only reason it's growing, is because it has human sexy draw. People want to see pandas. I mean, when you think about the panda alone, there used to be 1,100 of them. Now there's 8,000 plus. Phenomenal story. It can be done. But is the hissing cockroach going to get the same? Is that poor pangolin going to get the same care? These guys, they're special. Only special animals are going to make it. I don't buy that. I think all animals are special. The great white shark. Everybody, scared to death of them. They're great animals. I don't know if they're making a comeback or not, but I sure hope they can. I hope sharks, all the big fish, you talk to a lot of fishermen that go out and fish the big fish. There's not a lot of big fish out there anymore. There's just not. This is a great success story, the Pacific blue tang. When you think about it, I challenged a bunch of folks within our parks 15 years ago, about 10 years ago, I guess. I kept going to the Marine Fish Tag group and listening to them talk about their issues. And I raised my hand, and I'm sitting in the back of the room like I always do, and they go, what do you want, dolphin guy? I said, well, when are we going to start raising fish? Oh, well, we don't need to. You just pick up the phone and call a wholesaler. I said, one day we're going to need to know how to raise fish. So Dr. Judy St. Ledger took my challenge within our group started rising tide, and now we have actually raised 23 new species, not new species, but species of marine ornamental fish in managed care. It can be done, like the blue tang. Dory, we have found you. So these things can be done. People say, well, we can't breed this or we can't do that. Yes, you can. Don't ever say you can't. And don't ever say, well, we do it this way because that's the way we've always done it. Change is important. Now, having said that, there's a little story. I'm going to read one, but I'm going to tell one. And I'm doing way fine here in terms of time. You can tell that this is very important to me. I would hate to see all the work that we've done, you and all of us have done all these years, to have no animals left. And that's going to happen if we don't change the tide. And we've got to do it in a lot of different ways. I know this sounds like the challenges from yesterday and the warnings from this morning and things. It sounds bleak. Nothing is as bleak as what you want it to be. It's up to you. This is either half full or half empty, right? It's half full. It's not half empty. It was years ago, and I'll tell a rugby story now, because I have to. Most of you don't, maybe some of you don't know, I used to play rugby a long time ago when I was young and stupid. It's probably why I don't talk as well as I talk anymore. And I traveled all over the world. I was captain of the U.S. Eagles, national team. I still have phenomenal friends from that sport. But after my first game at St. Mary's College, that Gray alluded to earlier, we were coached by a gentleman named Pat Vincent. He was from New Zealand. I came out of that game bloodied and bruised, and we had lost. I was devastated. I said, Pat, tell me, what are the secrets to winning this game? He said, I'm going to tell you 4 things, and some of these things I've told you before. You have to have a fire in your heart, and you have to have some ice in your brain. I looked at him like, oh, okay. And he turned to start to walk away, and I go, well, Pat, you said 4. He goes, yeah. He says, and you got to be fast and smart. And ladies and gentlemen, I think we have to become faster and smarter to figure out ways to not let this extinction happen as fast as it is. It's probably going to keep happening, but gosh darn it, we've got to do something about it. And having said that, do you all know who Dr. Seuss is? Well, I want to read this because I don't want to goof it up. In full recognition of the degree and magnitude of which we're losing species, I'll close my thoughts today with an idea brought to us by one of the world's great conservationists, Dr. Seuss. In his classic tale, The Lorax, his narrator, after having started a devastating cascade of environmental events, held precious the last seed of its kind, a seed which, in the right hands, could reignite the nature he and his kind had so maligned. That is where we find ourselves, on the brink of with only our collective passion, knowledge, and creativity at hand to help turn the tide of this human-driven mass extinction event. Zoos and aquariums are some of the most vital and important tools during this time of crisis. We've shown ourselves to be capable of success, even under the most dire of circumstances, which we talked about. And perhaps most importantly, we must continue to ignite the passion and the power of our collective visitors, old and young alike. For as Dr. Seuss said, quote unquote, unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to get better. It's not. Thank you very much.